Hey, what's up everybody? It's A-Bomb here, and how you guys doing this afternoon? Alrighty then. Alright, so, before I jump into the list, I know you guys probably do not like the whole ranting thing before getting into the actual subject matter, but this is going to be real quick. I did actually upload this video about a week ago, but I had to take it down because somewhere during the broadcast, the internet had cut out for a split second, and it cut off the other half of the video. I didn't have a way to recover it, so we're just gonna redo it. That being said, we're gonna jump straight into the list. No long delusional rant this time. So we are going to start off with Makoto Naegi, and why not, I might as well show you guys the characters along the way, because I actually can do that now. I think. Yeah, okay, I can do it in here. Alright, so Makoto Naegi right here. Okay, it's not gonna pull up the picture after all. So just look where the yellow indicator is. Makoto Naegi, the crazy theory I have about this character is that he might have actually been the ultimate detective, or actually the official thing is that he might have actually been multi-talented. Now, what makes this both, like, because I'm not gonna sit here and like delude myself into thinking that most of these actually do make sense, but this one, the selling point on it is that a lot of the times Makoto Naegi does end up coming up with the answer, the right answer to Clash Trials, which you could attribute to him being the ultimate hope. But given that he is the protagonist and very first character of the series, it's not entirely a bad idea to think that he could have multiple talents, especially since in the second game, Izuru Kamakura actually does have multiple talents. But other than that, I don't really have a whole lot that could actually sell this theory as plausible. Some of these, I'm going to admit, are going to be better thought, more thought out than others. This first one wasn't exactly a strong starting point, but it is what it is. We're gonna move on to Sayaka Mizuno, which, boop, right there. And that is that she might have actually been, like, corrupted the whole time. I didn't want to use the word corrupted because that seems like a little excess, but I do think that Sayaka Mizuno was actually planning on killing somebody. Maybe not from the very beginning, but as soon as she figured out the whole rules of the killing game and all that, I would say that the plan to kill somebody had formulated right then and there. Now, as for why I think that, and why I think it wasn't the motivational video that actually pushed Sayaka into it, was that you can actually see through a couple dialogues before you find out about the killing game that Sayaka Mizuno is actually very cunning. Now, this doesn't exactly mean that she is, like, quote-unquote evil, but it does show that it would be very easy for her to manipulate people like Makoto Naegi, Leon Kawada, Amanda Owada. Basically, a good majority of the males in her class were easily manipulated by her, kind of friendly, childhood sweetheart kind of, stereotype bullcrap going on. This one I feel like does have a little bit more standing to it because it actually is a bit of a plot point in terms of after Sayaka was found out, and spoiler alert, I don't know if I've said anything that can be considered a spoiler already, but yeah, spoiler alert. Once it is figured out that Sayaka Mizuno was actually planning on framing Makoto Naegi for Leon Kawada's murder, Makoto ends up in this kind of state where he's not sure if Sayaka had done that. Well, obviously she did it to get out of there, but what she did afterwards, writing Leon's name down. Now that could have been her calling out her killer, or it could have been her trying to prove that Makoto was innocent. Either way, it's just hard to view Sayaka as a good person, considering that even if it is the latter and that she did do it to try to save Makoto, she probably would not have done anything like that had the plan have gone her way. I believe that the only reason that she had actually called out Makoto's innocence is simply to get revenge on Leon for killing her. And I could be wrong. Sayaka could be a true sweetheart at her core. But the thing is, and I haven't read any of the manga, so like all I have to go on is the games and the anime. And from what I've gathered from the games and the anime, this is what I came up with. So yeah, there we go. We're gonna move on to number 3, and this is definitely more plausible than the first two, and that is that Leon Kawada's death was actually a symbolic representation of the protagonist change. And that is because Danganranpa, for those of you that are like Omega fans and know all about the game in its entirety, Danganranpa was not originally called Danganranpa. It was actually a game called Distrust, and Makoto Naegi, if he was a character at all, was not the protagonist. It was actually Leon. Leon was supposed to be the protagonist, and then I don't know if Sayaka was supposed to be like the Duro antagonist, like his sidekick, or if she was supposed to be like the female antagonist. Not the female antagonist, the female protagonist, in which case she was supposed to be like, you could choose to be a male or a female. Either way, it was actually confirmed by the creators of Distrust that the reason that Leon and Sayaka were the first deaths were because they were tired of drawing the characters, and that they didn't want to keep them around for the entirety of the Danganranpa game. But this theory goes a little bit deeper into that, and goes to say that the reason for it being that the Danganranpa Distrust game, a lot of the concepts from that were officially like scrapped or killed off, and so you could view Leon's death as like the final piece of the Distrust puzzle getting like demolished, in a sense. Hopefully I explained that okay, because I lost myself a little bit there. We're gonna move into Chihiro Fujisaki, which is actually the first one of these that I came up with, and the one that made me come up with the video idea. And that is that Chihiro Fujisaki's gender reveal was actually supposed to be symbolic and not physical. Now, again, I don't have a whole lot of proof to go on these. That's the thing about theories, is most of them are, just kind of reading a little bit into stuff that doesn't need to be read into. But this one has a lot of plausible things. First of which being that Chihiro was not found out up until that point. Now, you could argue that they possibly could have known that Chihiro was male before they had their memories wiped, but I've honestly seen no evidence to support that from either the anime or dialogue within the game. And then it also kind of, leaves a big question mark in the fact that Chihiro Fujisaki was not found out during the entirety of the Killing game. Now, again, you could kind of play that off as like people didn't read too much into it, but when you start adding in little pieces like those and Chihiro's personality being closer related to a female, it honestly kind of points towards maybe when Chihiro Fujisaki was called out as a male, maybe they did not mean that Chihiro Fujisaki was physically male, as in Chihiro had a penis, but rather Chihiro was identifying as a male, in which case Chihiro could have been male without having male body parts or anything like that. I also want to point out that Chihiro Fujisaki was even voiced by a female, which just further adds to the fact that Chihiro Fujisaki is, according to this theory, biologically female. But in terms of how they choose to identify themselves, Chihiro Fujisaki is male. It also kind of goes a little bit into Mondo's thing, which I'm going to jump into next. Mondo's secret might have actually been that he was gay and not that he killed his brother. My evidence for this is that it is never like Monokuma never comes right out and was like, hey, that is for sure the secret that he was keeping. You can only realistically take Mondo's word for it, and there is a little bit of evidence to support this throughout the series. Now, I won't say it's a grand amount of evidence, because it could just be like fandom people looking way too much into the friendship between Mondo and Kiyotaka, or even Mondo and Chihiro's friendship, relationship, whatever. But just the people that Mondo seems to get along with, for starters. It does kind of point out to like maybe he likes men. Another thing is like Mondo Awada being who he is. He might have been too embarrassed to reveal that he was gay. There might have even been a part where and again, this kind of plays in with Chihiro. If Chihiro had went to Mondo and explained to Mondo that he did want to identify as a male, Mondo might have actually gotten jealous, because that technically makes Chihiro gay as well. And Chihiro had the courage to come out and admit to who they are and who they want to be, whereas Mondo is too ashamed of who he is and wants to be. there isn't much more to go on other than this, but it does kind of get the wheels spinning, especially when you jump back to the first, well, not the first theory, but the previous theory with Chihiro. It just kind of all goes in together. Now this next theory is a bit goofy, but it did kind of hit me while I was sitting here thinking of theories. And that is that Kiyotaka might have actually become immune to despair after Mondo's death, which is why he was killed as the very next victim. Now, you may be wondering how that is, and if it's even possible to become immune to despair. Well, I don't know realistically, but Kiyotaka did go through somewhat of a transformation upon Mondo's death, which seemed to send him on a complete 180 of he was very depressed about his friend's death to it almost seemed like there was nothing that could sour this guy's like hope-filled attitude. That being said, Junko Enoshima might have realized that Kiyotaka Ishimaru was not going to be an easy person to get to fall into despair if she was even able to succeed at all. And given how Sakura Ogami was actually working for Junko Enoshima at the time, Sakura could have been used to persuade Celestia into murdering Kiyotaka specifically, or Celestia might have even been paid even more money, and I do think that it's a bit funny that is why she was, what her execution was about was money, but that's for a later person. Right now, she might have been paid more to kill Kiyotaka specifically. There again, I don't have much to go on for this theory, and I also noticed I stopped doing this right after Sayaka. For those of you who don't know the characters, first and foremost, I don't know why you're watching this video, but I will show you, like, okay, this guy right here is Leon Kawada, this good-looking ginger right here. Chihiro Fujisaki is the adorable little person right here underneath Makoto. Mondo is the dude with the triangle on his head right here. And then Kiyotaka is right here with the blood red eyes. So, just recapping before I move on, Kiyotaka, possibly immune to despair, mostly kind of like a joke, but also, like, realistically speaking, he might have been. Moving on to number 7 is Hifumi Yamada, and that is why I moved the indicator over here, and that is because, Hifumi Yamada might have actually been plotting to murder Celeste after Kiyotaka was killed. However, he was had first. Now, like most of the theories here, I have very little, if not no evidence to actually support this, but my kind of like working theory here is, unless Hifumi Yamada was just completely dumb, which I won't say is impossible, because although he does look like an intelligent person and does use a lot of bigger words, he also does seem to also do a lot of questionable things for an intelligent person, helping Celestia Ludenberg with murder being one of them, not because of like the morally like bankrupt part of it, but simply because by the rules of the killing game, Hifumi Yamada would technically not be able to survive to the end with Celeste, meaning that he most likely already, I'm assuming, kind of figured out that it was going to come down to him or her, and so decided to play stupid to earn Celeste's affections. But shortly after helping Celeste with the murder, and before he could enact his own plan, Celeste silenced Hifumi, possibly either knowing that he was going to do something like that, or just doing it to ensure that she did not have to split the money with somebody. And again, I've touched up on Celeste's greed a little bit, and we're going to be getting into that next. It's going to be explaining the origin of Celeste's greed, and this is possibly my favorite theory out of all the ones that I came up with, and that is that Celestia Ludenberg might have actually had a rough upbringing, in which case it actually explains why she is the way she is. Now, you may not buy into this theory, considering that Celestia Ludenberg does tell you that she is from a rich family and does have a lot of rich mannerisms, but that doesn't exactly mean that she was always rich or that she's even telling the truth. It is revealed that when she is revealed as the ultimate gambler, that Celeste is a compulsive liar, and of course, being the ultimate gambler, she is a damn good one. That being said, it's hard to take any of her backstory with a grain of salt. However, you do end up figuring out that her cat was her, motive for killing. Given how little Celeste seems to care about others, it also adds on to, the fact that she might have had a rough upbringing. She could have possibly had parents that cared about her very little, or possibly even not had parents at all and had to fend for herself. However, I'm guessing that Celestia Ludenberg was eventually adopted by a rich family, or came into some money of her own volition through her gambling, allowing her to take up the rich lifestyle that she always wanted. And when she was offered enough money to ensure that she would never have to return to such a horrible lifestyle again, she couldn't resist and took up the offer. Again, this is one of my favorite theories, simply because it is possibly one of the most plausible, given how little that you actually know is confirmed about Celestia Ludenberg's backstory. It also adds a whole level of okay, it makes sense why Celestia Ludenberg let her greed get the better of her. Because realistically speaking, if it was just a money thing, then Celestia Ludenberg could have gambled and gotten that money back very simply, or possibly even conned somebody out of the money, as Celestia Ludenberg does have enough cunning, as shown by the fact she does have, for the most part, composure throughout the most of the series. Hashtag love Celeste. Moving on, we're gonna move to Sakura Ogami, and that is that she might have had a hand in some of the other murders that took place in the Danganranpa series. So you know that Sakura Ogami has been working for Monokuma, possibly since the very beginning of the Killing Game, which begs the question on what exactly she was doing for him. Now, given that Junko Enoshima is able to monitor all of the students almost anywhere that they go in Hope's Peak, it seems very unlikely that she had Sakura in there just to, keep an eye on things. So I imagine that Sakura was in there to help stir the pot. Now, they did say something about Sakura was there to help push things, just in case the Killing Game got boring, but she never went through with it. However, oh shit, I just realized I forgot. Celeste! And now Sakura. Anyways, getting back to the theory. So Sakura may have had a part in at least I can come up with something for 2 of the murders before out of the 3. The second trial where Chihiro was killed, Chihiro may have went to Sayaka first, who suggested that Chihiro go to Mondo, knowing full well that Mondo would not be able to take the pressure and snap and kill Chihiro. That is more kind of like reading too much into it, but also kind of plausible. Since you don't know everything about, every little detail of what took place for the murders, it could have happened. And then, like I said earlier, Sakura also might have been told by Monokuma to pitch the idea to Celestia Ludenberg to kill Kiyotaka Ishimaru, simply because he could not be thrown into despair anymore, which means that he was impossible for Junko to control. This one was really hard to come up with. Sakura is a pretty straightforward and open person. I don't buy into this theory much myself, but it is possible, and so I did include it in the list. Please don't hate me for putting a little bit of suspicion on Sakura. I had to come up with something. Alright, so next, and I did not forget to move the indicator this time, we're going to move on to Yasuhiro Higakure. And that is that he predicted his own murder and was able to prevent it. This is a bit more of a joke one, kind of like Kiyotaka's, but it does have some merit to it if you've played the Danganranpa demo. If you've played the Danganranpa demo, then you know that in the demo, it was actually Yasuhiro Higakure who had bit the bullet first, and they had heavily implied that Hifumi Yamada was Higakure's killer. I would have preferred that scenario much better than what we got in the original game. Now don't get me wrong, I do love Danganronpa and most of the trials are great, and I say most because we all know that none of the third trials were any good, but I did, Yasuhiro and Hifumi were 2 characters that I would not have missed terribly had they died really quickly. With Yasuhiro Higakure, what makes this theory kind of plausible is simply because if you are a horror fan, which if you are playing a game like Danganronpa or watching the anime, I'm sure that you probably are. But if you are, then I am sure that you know the stoner never really survives rule. Either the stoner is killed off very early, or they are one of the later, sad deaths that nobody really wanted to happen, but everybody knew it was going to. With that being said, Yasuhiro, by those rules, should have been killed off fairly early. However, after the demo, Yasuhiro being the first victim, or any victim at all really, is scrapped. And he manages to survive the entirety of the killing game. Surprising for somebody who fits the stoner stereotype. The theory is that, being the ultimate fortune teller, Yasuhiro was able to predict that he was going to die through the actions of Hifumi Yamada, which allowed him to take preventative measures and saving his own life and possibly even doing the work to save Hifumi's up until the third trial, where Yasuhiro was knocked unconscious and Hifumi was used in the plan to try to frame Yasuhiro for the murder of Kiyotaka Ishimaru. This one has a little bit of merit, but for the most part, it's kind of a joke. So we're gonna move on to another cutie from Danganranpa, Aoi Asahina, and that is that she might be diabetic. Now, the reason that I have this theory, it doesn't have much to like go on. It literally plays off of the fact that Aoi's almost obsessed with donuts, and it leads me to believe that Aoi might need to intake some sort of you know, a certain amount of calories or whatever in order to keep her diabetes in check. I can't really go too much more into this because there's not a whole lot of evidence, and it was really hard to come up with this theory actually. But in terms of like theories that have plausibility, this one actually does hold up a little bit. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think of this one. The next one, and some of you guys might go really insane over this one, Toko Fukawa's Genocide Jack might be an imposter or even a copycat. Now, for those of you who are like, how, why, and you know, what the hell, so this kind of stems from the fact that throughout an entire game of killing, Genocide Jack is never actually shown to even really come close to murdering somebody. There's also the fact that Toko Fukawa is a writer, so she likely has, let me put that in there, likely has a more active imagination. So given how isolated Toko is and how odd some of her tastes are, it's not a terribly far leap of logic to believe that Toko Fukawa actually created this fake Genocide Jack in her head, not only as kind of like a protector of herself simply because she views herself as more of a wallflower, but also it kind of gives her a chance to really put an outlet into a lot of her quirks, I guess you'd call them. And given that Genocide Jack doesn't have any like human victims throughout the entirety of the Danganranpa animation and the games, it just really puts a damper on whether that Genocide Jack is actually you know, even a real serial killer. And the theory goes a little bit further to say, like, even if Genocide, you know, Toko Fukawa's Genocide Jack is a serial killer, there is absolutely no guarantee that it is the original Genocide Jack, given how Byakuya Togami actually knew about Genocide Jack before the events of, you know, the Killing Game took place. And here is one of the biggest indicators that this Genocide Jack is either a fake or a copycat. The students had their memories wiped of all relevant things that took place before Hope's Peak, including the fact that they were all classmates. So I find it unlikely that Byakuya would have been able to surmise that Toko was Genocide Jack just off of, all of that information. Genocide Jack might be a copycat killer, but I would say definitely not the original serial killer, Genocide Jack. Speaking of Byakuya Togami, he's our next one that we're gonna hit, and that is that he had murder on his mind. And this one is a bit of a, I don't know. Some characters I really had to stretch for in order to find a theory, this being one of them. However, there is a little bit of evidence to support this, so I won't say that it's a terribly bad theory. The evidence to support that Byakuya Togami might have been planning on murdering somebody from the start is how callous he is at the start of the Killing Game, and a lot of his early on dialogue fully leads you to believe that he intends on winning the Killing Game. Now, Byakuya is a smart little fella. He is clearly, going to sit back and watch what would happen if you actually did kill somebody, and after watching the first trial, he probably had it in the back of his mind to sit back and watch everything go down up until the end of the Killing Game, where he likely would have killed the only other survivor to ensure that he could escape. It's not terribly far of a leap in logic to think that Byakuya Togami would be selfish enough to only really want to save himself, nor is it terribly far in a leap of logic for you to really think that the guy had very little care for his, fellow Killing Game participants, which just leads me into that whole he probably was going to kill somebody and probably was planning on doing it from the very start. He possibly even had his favorite victim in mind. Anyways, we're gonna move on to Mukuro Ikusaba. Now, as you probably surmise, for the most part these are going in order from the Killing Games. It went from victim, killer, blah blah blah. Makoto Naegi started out the list as the protagonist, and as for why Mukuro is down here instead of right there, is kinda because I don't know. I almost had Mukuro at the bottom given how little emphasis there is on her screen time, because whereas you do have Mukuro Ikusaba as a person in the beginning parts of the story, she's acting like Junko Enoshima, so realistically speaking, anything that she shows as a personality trait besides from what's in her school mode thing, it's probably more Junko than it is Mukuro. So that's why she's down here. Anyway, the reason that she, the theory that I have for her is that if Mukuro Ikusaba would have survived past when she did, she would have betrayed Junko, and possibly ended up being one of the survivors at the end of the story. Now, for those of you who have played Danganranpa, if you were probably well, no dip, Sherlock, that is exactly what happens in Danganranpa. If, well, kind of. But, this theory goes to say that even like had that whole interaction with Junko trying to kill Mukuro did not happen, Mukuro possibly still would have turned against Junko. I don't have a whole lot of evidence to support this, other than in the school mode, Mukuro seems to catch feelings for Makoto, and it is confirmed that, you know, by the Danganronpa If series, that Mukuro canonically does in fact have feelings for Makoto, especially after being saved by him. That being said, if she would have been kind of like the mole instead of Sakura, I could see her have, you know, more or less letting her love for Makoto Naegi really shape what you know, what would have happened with her. That being said, Mukuro didn't have a whole lot more to go on, so I don't know if she would have betrayed her sister or not. If you watch the Danganronpa 3 animation, I would say no. If you go by the game, I would say yes. Realistically, like, the manga would probably be the tiebreaker here. But then you'd kind of have to, you know, because the Danganronpa If, it's also a manga, so, I mean, it just kind of, I don't know, unless there's a Mukuro, like, specific canon Danganronpa story, it might come down to the world may never know if she would have betrayed Junko or not. And since we were talking about Junko, we might as well hit her next. And her theory is that she really just needed to be loved. Now, this is probably not like gonna be one of those like, oh yeah, you know, that's actually groundbreaking type deals. But there is a little bit of evidence to support that Junko might have actually just wanted some love. For starters, Junko's kind of like ill treatment of her sister in the Danganronpa animation kind of shows that she might not actually know how to treat another family member. I don't know much about Junko's family life, if she had loving or crappy parents or anything like that, but just judging by the way that she touches her sister the way she does, I'm saying that she probably had a very handsy father that gave her the wrong impression on affection. There's also evidence in the fact that Junko does seem to kind of like fall in love easy, as she does with I can't think of his name. Funny enough, I actually do know the guy's name. He's from the manga. I think it's Yasuke Matsuda or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's his name. And then there's Izuru Kamakura, and even how she kind of comments how like Makoto Naegi, you know, I'm pretty sure anyways that she may comment about how Makoto was cute at the very end of the game. She did also point out that he was useless but cute. That being said, Junko Enoshima might have really just kind of been looking for attention, aka in her eyes just a little bit of love, only, you know, yeah, in a very twisted manner. So, did she want to be loved? Probably not, but possible. Oh yeah. Wait. Okay, so I realized I stopped after Aoi. We're gonna do this Toko Genocide Jack because for some reason they're counted as two different people in this game. Byakuya Togami. I don't know which one of these is Junko. I'm gonna say this is Makuro. I would say so because yeah, I was gonna say because the Junkos on here are labeled with the question mark. If I would have just looked up and seen that, it would have said Makuro right there. I literally just told by the clips in her hair and the thing on the shirt. Anyway, so Byakuya, Makuro, Junko, and then Kyoko. We finally made it here. Now the reason I saved Kyoko for last is I actually had to spend an entire day thinking of a theory for Kyoko. Like, I kid you not, Kyoko was so expertly written where it didn't leave a whole lot of room for doubt in her character. Like, I tried doing stuff for like her hands, or like what happened to her hands, or you know, why her relationship was estranged with her father, or like stuff like that. Literally could not come up with anything that was not already explained. So this is what I came up with, and I promise you it is bad. Kyoko Kirigiri might be immortal. Now, I know, stupid, right? I'm sorry, it's what I came up with. There's very little to support the fact that this is, like, true. Other than in the execution of Kyoko Kirigiri, you never actually see her die. You see her close her eyes, and then the screen goes black, indicating that she was probably crushed, but they didn't show it. However, given how in Junko Enoshima's execution, which shows the exact same thing, you actually do see Junko get crushed, in which case there is reason to doubt that Kyoko would have actually died in the execution, despite the fact that she does not show up in the ending cutscene. She might be living somewhere within Hope's Peak, hiding, or even managed to find a way to escape. Or like in the theory with Makoto having fallen down in the hole, not the theory, what am I talking about? In the execution where Makoto falls down in the hole rather than actually dying, that might be where Kyoko spent the rest of her life, was down in that little hole. This is further kind of, you know, solidified upon by the Danganranpa 3 animation, which they did explain, and again, it was just impossible to come up with something that they hadn't explained before. But they did explain that the reason that Kyoko was able to survive despite her being poisoned like everybody else that had died in the Danganranpa 3 animation, she had survived due to a drug that Seiko Kimura had made. But Seiko was never able to use it herself due to the killing game being what it was. With that, her suicide prevented her from being able to use the drug on herself, saving it for a later date, in which case Kyoko Kirigiri was able to save it, use it to save her own life. However, in the theory, we're just gonna say that the drug didn't work and she survived anyway, because immortality. The long and short of it is that in Danganranpa, it is basically just impossible for Kyoko to die, which is why the theory is that she is immortal. Honestly, couldn't think of anything else. So let me know what you guys thought of these. I know some of these are bad, some of these are like meh, and some of these might actually get your wheels turning a little bit. If you could, let me know what you guys, which one was your favorite, which one was your least favorite. Did you guys have any theories that you thought might fit better? Or, you know, just any theories that, you know, you have for the characters yourselves? Do you have any evidence to support the theories that I missed or forgot to touch up on? Realistically speaking, I just want you to engage, comment, you know, stuff like that, because I eat it up. I love it. Nothing gets me more excited than somebody actively participating on the channel. That being said, I'm gonna end the video here in a second, because I do have to work today. I gotta go take a shower, you know, get ready, take the dog out, eat, smoke, all that. But before I go, I was going to do another video before I went to work. I won't realistically have time. But if you did watch this and you are going to tune in like early enough for this information to be relevant at some point, whether that is tonight, tomorrow, or within the next couple days to a week, I will be doing a total drama ranking list that has the characters from seasons 1 through 3. Now, you may be wondering why not do like all the characters. I actually do have the list put together for all 100 competitors that have, you know, competed in Danganranpa, Total Drama. Hopefully I didn't say that wrong the first time. But yeah, Total Drama. I have the individual seasons and not like, you know, going as far as like season 1 and 2 being counted as different. There's a list for people from seasons 1, 2, and 3. There's a list for people that are from seasons 4. There's a list that are for people from season 5. There is a list for not season 5, season 6. There's a list for people from the Redonkulus race, and there's also a list for the people that came in for the reboot. And then of course there's the really big list with everybody. I'm gonna do, you know, in order, the Island through World Tour cast, the Revenge of the Island cast, the Pockettail Island cast, the Redonkulus race cast, the reboot cast, and finally I will hit up on the ranking list with everybody. Now, with the Danganronpa thing, getting back into that, I obviously will be doing a second and third game as well for this. I don't know if I'll do the Ultra Despair Girls or not. I guess that really depends on how popular the theories for 1, 2, and 3 get. And then when I finish doing the 3, possibly 4 of those, I will do like one big list. I do like what I call a breakup list a lot of the times. So like with just an example, BioWare companions. Like I've got a list for just Dragon Age, just Knights of the Old Republic, just Mass Effect, and then I've got a list that is, you know, only like temp companions, and then I've got a list that's gonna be literally every companion. So I mean that it's gonna include people that were part of your team for 5 minutes, like Jenkins, for instance. Like Jenkins was probably one of the shortest lived BioWare companions ever. He literally became a companion, had no combat that he was involved in, nothing. You land on a planet with him. He has one line of dialogue where he's talking about how the landscape of the planet used to be beautiful, and then you walk and he gets shot by a drone where he dies. But yeah, he'll even be part of that list. So like, you might actually want to like tune in, because there's companions there that you might not have even heard of before, because not all these guys just get handed to you. And it's a little surprising, actually. You know, you would think that such like mediocre companions you wouldn't care about, but I ate the shit up, so. But yeah, enough on that subject. We're gonna end the video here. I'm going to say hasta pasta, see you later, have a fantastic evening. Don't forget, I'm not gonna like do the whole spiel about like, comment, subscribe, all that yada yada. Just make sure that you are doing what is best for you in the situation. If you like the video, you want to come back to it, like it, make sure it's in your like video playlist. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you know, make sure you know when I'm going live, stuff like that. You know, feel free. I'm more than happy to. And if you want to leave a comment down below, I love comments. I love hateful comments a little less, but even hateful comments sometimes have their relevance, because they can tell you, you know, what people are genuinely thinking. It doesn't do much good, and I say this all the time as a writer, it doesn't do much good if somebody is giving you false feedback, because then you are not making any progress. It will probably hurt for a minute, but once they actually go through the work of making it to where it is better, it's so much better. So much better. Plus, the other person can feel good about themselves. Like, they worked hard and now they improved. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if you want to, even leave a hateful comment. Just, you know, honest. You know, whatever you're thinking, by that, go. That was barely English. I'm gonna get off of here before I fuck up English even more. Hasta pasta, see you later. A-Bomb Clark is out.